Hi, my name's Lewis from the band Scale 10. And without a doubt, if you're like me,
You have violated the law!
bird. How's it going? You're probably bored out your nut waiting for this quarantine to end. I thought I would make a video today to show you how to play our song that we released recently over and over. We milk it, we know, you don't have to tell us. I want to assure you all that once we are out of quarantine, we have got another broad selection of songs that we are planning on recording. But for now, enjoy learning this one. So today I'm going to be playing this on a 5-string bass because I don't have access to my 4-string because of the quarantine. This is very unfortunate and it is going to confuse a few people. So the best way to go about it is ignore this string here. This string does not exist. And if you think the 5-string's a bit overcomplicated, I could be really cruel and play it on this. So there's a few things in this song that you're going to have to know before you start playing it. One, if it's not already obvious, there's a lot of slapping and popping. You know, that kind of stuff. So if you're new to bass playing, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be painful. But I have got one method that you can use to help make it easier, is to just go around and hit your thumb off of as many things as you can find. As like, just whatever. Nailed it. Or you can do it the proper way and just suck it up. So the bass comes in during the 4th bar of the song, an 8th note before the 5th bar starts. You start with the 3 on the A string and move up to the 5, and you slide down to the 1. Then once you've done that, you slide back up to the 3, hit the 3 on the D string, back down to the 3 on the A string. I don't know, sometimes I like to do just a run back up to the 5. So far we've got so straight after that you go up to the 5 on the D string and you do the same again up to the 7. And then down to the 5 again. And then you slide it out. So far we've got so after that little 1 and 3 on the A string, straight down to the 3 on the E. So this next part, the only notes that you're going to be using are 3, 6, 7, and 8. Just hammer on the way up to 8. So now we hit the main riff of the song, which is all on the A, D and G strings. So you start the riff with a slap on the 5th note of the A string, and the whole riff basically follows 1, 2, 3, 4 with 1/8 note in between. So there's an 8th note in between, but most of the time you're just keeping going with that thumb. And then you pluck back up on the string above, which is the D string. Starting with the 5th on the A string, hit it again, and you're going to pop up to the 3rd note on the D string. So that's the first part of the riff. Easy. And when you hit that last note, you're going to slide down to 1, the 1st fret, and then you're going to land that. So you're only going to hit that, you're going to hit that twice, and then you're going to pop up. This isn't the 8th note, this is just on the beat. 3rd note again, and then 3rd on the D string. The next part, you're going to play the first part of that bar very similar, but instead of hitting the 3rd on the D string, you're going to hit the 7th. With that slide back down to the 1, you're going to hit the octave. It's all 8th notes, but there's a rest in between each. So instead of going, it's more along the lines of, so you get that funk rhythm in there. 1st fret of the A string, and then you're going to pop up to the G string on the 3rd fret. And then you're going to work that up just 2 frets. So the whole riff all together. That repeats a number of times through, so you should be able to just keep on going with it. After repeating that main riff twice, we move on to a more torn down version of the riff, where it just goes into single notes. Now, you play that once. So it's basically the same riff, but instead of popping up, you're just hitting them notes. With one difference of you hit the 3rd note on the way down rather than sliding. So instead of the, it's... After that part, I like to go into a more disco-y kind of section. It's got a bit of a groove to it. Fifth on the A string, down to the 3rd, back up to the 5th, and then you've got the 3rd note of the D string. And then you finish that riff up on the 5th note of the A string again. So it's the 5th, 3rd and 1st on the A string. And then you're going to go down to the 1st on the E string. So from 1 to 1. The next part, it's a little bit of a run. You're going to start off on the 3rd of the D string. Then the 2nd, you're going to move down. 5th fret of the A string, then you're going to hit 3, in between all these notes you're going to try and lift off as quick as you can to get that sort of deadened sound. Next part, you're going to repeat that. 5, 3, 5. And instead of the 3 in that, you're going to hit the 7. So, next part is very similar to the main riff. Instead of the, you're going to play. After that, we go back into the main riff. You know how to play it. So back to back, 2 of them, and then we go into an alternate version of the main riff. This is where there's no vocals and the bass plays just a couple of extra notes. So instead of going, you're going to add a 0 on the D string in between that. I find it easier to let go to get that note to ring. But then the same again for the next part as well. You also might notice at the end of phrases I tend to do a little hammer on down from the 5th to the 3rd. You don't have to do that if you don't want, I just do it for flair and also because I just find it easier. Do that hammer on and then just finish up on the 5th. 3 bars of nothing. Within the last 2 quarter notes, we're going to do some slides. I tend to just do these for flavour to move into the next section when Daz is screaming or shouting. He's always screeching. On the A string, do a slap on the 3rd note and slide it all the way up until you let go. I know I've tabbed it with a 7, but don't worry about that, it's just a slide out. And then, once you do that slide out, back into the main riff. Same again, play the main riff and then the alternate, and then we move into the bridge and build section. You move straight into the 3rd note of the E string. 1 dun da da dun dun da dun da dun. 1 1 1 2 3 1 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 2 3 1 1 2 1 2. Same goes for the 3rd note, 6th and 8th. You can add a little hammer on in between if you feel like it. This bridge section is kind of weird because the fill is at the middle of the bridge rather than at the very end. So it's from the 8, you're going to hammer on all the way up to the 10, and then you're going to hit that 10 again, and then you're going to do the same on the string above, and then you're going to come back down and do the same again on the 10 and the string below. And at the very end you're going to hit the 10 and slide down and then back into the riff, which, speaking of, on the 2nd run, you just hold that 8th note. After this section, the drums and the bass lock in together, so keep an ear out on the bass drum, and every 2 measures it changes. So after this section, it begins to build a little more. The bass drum ends up hitting another couple of notes and so does the bass. After this we have another fill which takes place an 8th note after the bar starts. This one starts off on the E string. 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 8, 8 and 10, 8, and then 8 again. The next section we get to do more slapping and popping. So you're just popping the octave the same as most of the song. This time you're actually holding the notes, you're not trying to deaden them like the sections previous to it. So at the end of that segment, the last 2 bars chord the 8th and the 2 10s on the E, A and D strings. And what I tend to use is the back of my hand. It's kind of like a Les Claypool kind of strum. Just the back of your fingernails. And then all you're going to do at the very end there. So next is probably the trickiest section of the song where we go into this double time. So we're going to hit the 5th note of the A string using our pinky here. So you're going to hit 6 notes with a gap in between the first one and the second one. After this we go into quite a fast run. This is why we want to use the pinky, because we start off on the 2nd fret of the 4th string and we're going to hammer on to the third and then back down. Getting your hammer-ons right for this part is essential to playing this part of the song. The next we're going to go take your pinky onto the 5th of the 3rd string, down to the 3rd note, 2nd note. So you're strumming on the 3rd. If you watch this hand here, so you're going to be picking on the 2nd, hammering on, strumming the 5, and then you're going to be strumming the 3 as well, and hammering on down to the 2 on that 3rd string. And then you're going to be strumming on the 5 on the A string and hammering on down to the 3rd. So altogether that part. So after this we're going to go down to the 1st fret on the 2nd string, the A string. Same again, 6 notes with a gap in between the 1st and 2nd note. And then we're going to shift up and we're going to hit the 3 on the 3rd string and the 3 on the 2nd string. So that whole riff together. There are alternate endings to each of them phrases when you get up to the... So the first time round, on the second time round, then repeat the first time round again, and then at the end of every 4th bar, that I've showed you there, you repeat that twice, and then at the very end of the song, have a good time. You want to just hammer on up to the 5. Sometimes when we play it live, we tend to do this. That's the song. Another bird. A lot of birds today.